Let's speak now with John Aughenbaugh. He's an associate professor of political science at Virginia Commonwealth University. Professor, thank you very much for joining us. So we know that Ms. Harris is preparing to make the biggest decision of her short candidacy so far. In your opinion, which candidate makes the most sense for you?
Well, I think either one would serve the vice president's election purposes quite well. Picking a vice presidential candidate for many presidential candidates in the United States is designed to send a message to particular voters. So in this case, Vice President Harris, to whom does she want to send a message? Does she want to send a message to moderate voters, and thus might go with Pennsylvania Governor Shapiro? Or does she send a message to progressive voters within the Democratic Party caucus and pick Minnesota Governor Walz? So I think that is the big question for the Harris campaign. What set or subset of voters does she want to send a message to in the selection of the vice presidential candidate?
Professor, I mean, picking a VP is not an afterthought, but, for Ms. Harris, picking one seems to have taken an outsized importance. We know that, some Republicans are already regretting J.D. Vance as their choice or as Trump's choice for VP. So why has this backup quarterback become so important for this particular election?
Well, for the Republicans, it becomes important, or it became important in part because of former President Trump's age, and the fact that there is still a distinct possibility that former President Trump could end up serving jail time or prison time because of the significant number of indictments against him. For the Democratic Party nominee, Vice President Harris, the issue is, does she have very much governing experience? And, for your viewers, the issue here is particularly for undecided and moderate voters, because for a good period of time, for most of the Biden presidency, there was very little indication that Vice President Harris had much of a role in the daily governance within the Biden administration. Before that, she was only briefly a United States senator. So most of her governing experience was as Attorney General. So, part of the issue, and again, this sends a message to potential voters who are, in particular, undecided. Do you have faith in Vice President Harris if she becomes president in regards to the type of governing she can do? And might she give a prominent role to whomever she picks as vice president? And presidents historically have kind of sort of varied in regards to how much they use vice presidents within their daily administration.
Sure. So, Professor, let's zoom into one of the top VP contenders, Josh Shapiro. I mean, some argue that if he's to be picked, it could dampen enthusiasm among key progressive demographics, especially because of his views when it comes to war in Gaza. Just how significant is this risk for Kamala Harris?
I think it's a significant risk in regards to the momentum she has built within the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. That was the wing of the party that had significant issues with President Biden continuing in the campaign. So if Vice President Harris picks Josh Shapiro, and in particular his views in regards to the Gaza war, but also some of his domestic policy initiatives that he has pushed as governor of Pennsylvania, does this hurt the enthusiasm of the progressives who have generated so much momentum for the Harris campaign? That is the potential downside in picking Josh Shapiro. Of course, on the positive, it would send a message to moderate and undecided voters. Perhaps the Harris administration would not be as liberal or as progressive as the progressive wing of the Democratic Party.
All right,
this
Professor,
becomes important in regards to battle. Yeah, go ahead.
Understood. We are out of time, unfortunately, Professor. Thank you so much for sharing your time and for your thoughts. It's John Aughenbaugh, Associate Professor of Political Science at Virginia Commonwealth University.